All right. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl. I am super excited to be sitting here today with Kenny, who is all the way in Norway. Kenny Mortenson is your last name, right? Am I saying that correctly? Yeah.
That's correct. That's
And
right.
so Kenny and I have been connected for like 7 years on Instagram, which is the coolest thing. Kenny did his 200-hour yoga teacher training at Yandara in Mexico, I think a month after me, and all the way back in 2014. And I was like obsessed with Yandara at this point. So I'm kind of like checking out the hashtags, checking out who else has been tagged there. And somehow Kenny and I got connected and we stayed in contact on Instagram for 7 years. And then at the start of the mindful life practice a year ago, when MLPC when the whole world was going into lockdown, me and Kenny actually met for the first time on Zoom, and he became one of our much loved yoga teachers, was teaching with us and had a lot of fans in the community. And so I'm sure they will be super happy to hear this podcast episode and kind of catch up with you again. So welcome, Kenny.
Thank you for the great intro, Alex. That's almost too much. And that just makes me miss all the members, the participants of the MLPC so much. So I got to get back there and teach some more. Thank you,
Seriously.
Alex.
Yandara flow. People love it. Actually, we still have a few of your Yandara classes in our on-demand library, and someone was talking about it like the other month. It's like a new member who had never met you. So yeah, you are well loved.
Okay, we got to do some Yandara flow.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay.
So let's start off the episode by you just kind of telling us a bit of background on you. You know, who are you? Where are you from? Sort of what's your story?
Okay, where do we begin? My name is Kenneth, and I always feel funny when I say I am a yoga teacher because I've kind of gone a bit away from everything that's placed in the sentence behind I am. I'm really not using that as the full identity anymore, but practicing as a yoga teacher, which is good, and a fitness instructor, like functional fitness, mainly body weight exercises, which I love. And I'm kind of using the yoga mentality into all that teaching as well, especially in gyms, so people don't hurt themselves. So that's a big part of my passion, is to use my knowledge, because I've had a lot of pain myself. So to use my knowledge to be aware of what you're doing in your training, your practice, and in everyday life. So, and I have a son, which I love more than anything. So that's a quick intro.
Cool. I remember actually that was one of the most memorable things about your classes is that they moved so mindfully and there was so much attention on detail, which is it's a really great quality, especially in the online medium. Like you want to make sure that you're kind of being as mindful as possible because you're not in the room with your students. So it's definitely one of your strengths.
Thank you. It's, I find that when I move slow, I kind of get into a state where I'm letting something move through me. I'm sort of becoming a channel of this divine power which is moving through me, which is, for me, allowing me to slow down, pause, and be aware of what, like physically, what everything is doing in my body, what part is activated, which allows me to kind of release those parts which I don't need to activate and tense. So moving slowly is huge for me.
Yeah.
And I love that people, tune into that as well.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, it's so different than like our modern life, which is so go, go, go. It's like the perfect kind of contrast to the way we live.
It is. And I used to be up in my head for so many years, like many other people, I reckon. So it's just to tone that down and be mindfully slower. Yeah. Go from, which I find that maybe yoga really is, at least for me, is going away from all the doing and into the being,
Mm-hmm.
which is slower.
So let's talk about kind of how you found yoga and spirituality. Were you always this way, or like how did you come across it?
Oh my God, no. Should have seen me some years ago. You have a story yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
we have changed a lot, both of us, I know. I used to be growing up a lot in my head, insecure, not knowing who I was. And I don't know. I didn't think I was lost, but at that time, but looking back, I know that I was not in a good place. But I did have something with me, like a spark of something that I didn't really couldn't place anywhere until I was ready. So yeah, it's the typical term, yoga finds me when I'm ready.
Hmm.
You find a teacher when you're ready.
Yeah.
So that's what happened to me. I was introduced to a fantastic teacher who went to Yandara as well, who inspired me to go to Yandara and educate myself. So that was the beginning of it in 2012. I had already at that point started studying, going deeper into myself, more like peeling off layers of who I thought I was meant to be in this world. It was like sort of like a crisis in some sort. Who am I? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Typical thing. So going deeper and deeper into that, and then I found yoga in the midst of that, and that just emphasized everything. And then the word spirituality just means to me to just be in touch with my source, my spirit. So yeah, you could say I got more spiritual, in touch with my spirit bit by bit after that. It was a long process though.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And how did you end up, what led you to start teaching yoga?
Um, Again, I had a wonderful teacher
Yeah.
who that helps in the process sometimes, to have someone who believes in you so much, who kind of pushes you a little bit to do something you might not feel ready for. So I was pushed out of my comfort zone in her classes to stand. I was the guy who was at the back of the class. It's a typical thing, and kind of hiding. And then as the more I practice yoga, the more I moved further, in front. And then she saw something in me, I think, and pushed me to demonstrate in her classes, like to stand in front of everyone and to show the poses and stuff. And that was uncomfortable, super uncomfortable, but that was the beginning of getting out of my comfort zone. So I did that, and after a while, she said, you should go to a teacher training. And I was thinking, I'm not ready for that. But I did anyway. So I went to Yandara, which is a fantastic place.
It is.
And yeah, I was just thinking about it, and it gives me chills. It's such a wonderful place. I went back 3 times
I'm
or
so
twice.
jealous of that. I need to get back there. Only ever went once.
All right, let's create a retreat there
I
sometime.
was I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah, I have to get back there sometime. And it's such a wonderful place, and it's where I got more and more in touch with who I am.
Yeah.
And I found that I actually had something deep to offer, not the fancy poses and not all the arm balances and everything. Because when I started practicing yoga, I finally found something physically that I was capable of. Really hadn't had that before I started with yoga. And then I found in my training that, oh my God, I have something deeper, which is not really mine. it's universe. It's something it's divine.
Yeah.
It's something huge. And I found more and more each day goes by. It was 26 or 28 days. 28 days. That you have to offer this. So when I got back home, I was so unmotivated I had a high paying job, and I was so not motivated. So I was just focusing on my yoga practice, developed my homepage, started teaching little by little. Got fired from my job because I did a terrible job. And no wonder. Not super proud of that, but it's just something big had happened, and I knew I had to pursue this, even if I lost my house. It's just, I had a knowing, kind of a knowing that I had from when I was a kid, that there was something there, and that spark there just grew into something big, and it was impossible to ignore it. So it was my purpose.
That just gave me shivers. The inner knowing.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah. And knowing is, wow, it's big.
So tell me about like your yoga practice. How has it evolved over time? Has it always been the same? Like what did it start out with and what is it now?
It started out with fancy poses like headstand and crow poses and then handstand, and then found that I could actually do this pretty well after a while, and that's what I put into my teaching as well. So part of my teaching in the beginning as well was driven by my ego, and which like showing off what I could do, which I'm not proud of, but I think it's an important part of the journey too, to just recognize, because it was just part of my human, my journey, right? This is what I was supposed to do at that point in time. So that was my focus in the beginning, and I think for many people who come to yoga, it's the physical aspect, and that's okay. I mean, it is what it is at that point. And then it developed more into, because I started off practicing Ashtanga, which is really what got me dedicated. I did that for a year. That got me truly dedicated. And then the year after that, I went into the teacher training. And after the teacher training, I loved the Yandara flow.
Yeah.
I just felt so in love with it because it's so slow, based on Tai Chi, with movement of energy, life force. It's like moving effortlessly. How can you sit in all the poses, and you're always moving, right? How can you kind of sit in the transitions as well? How can you find kind of stillness and peace, find shavasana in all the movements, like the serenity in all the movements, which is also a part of what I'm calling my logo, and my brand is now KM Yoga, Stillness in Motion. I just love that.
I love that. That
Yeah,
contrast. That's beautiful.
it's a huge contrast to all the doing. So I just fell in love with the dancing movements. And so you could say, if you ask me what kind of yoga do you teach and practice, you could easily say vinyasa flow.
Yeah.
You could say that. For me, it's more than that, but that's easy to just call it that. And then there's been more transitions and shifts after that as well. Now I'm perfectly satisfied by having just 5 minutes on my mat in the morning and just sit and just breathe. If I have 5 breaths with awareness, that's good. I'm placing, part of my practice is now I want to feel joy when I practice. It's not another thing that I want to be good at, because that's what we can do. That's what we normally do in the everyday world, right?
Yeah.
Just to perform and be good at. And now it's like, okay, I'm sitting here. I might feel pain, or I might feel dissatisfied by this and this, but I'm sitting here and just breathing and just attempting to be okay with everything as it is right now. That's my practice this day. So it's becoming more, my practice is meditation, like meditation and everything. And I use that if I'm in a hurry and I have to drive somewhere, I'm practicing. I'm practicing my breathing, and I'm in this spot. I can't get there on time. I'm breathing. I'm okay with it. I'm accepting. I'm not resisting, because if I'm resisting, the universe will put more obstacles in my path. So I if I feel resistance, more resistance will come. So
It's so true.
yeah, so that's just my yoga practices now, what I'm doing all day,
You know,
not just
this, it reminds me when you're talking about some passages from Rolf Gates' book, Meditations from the Mat, which I talk about all the time, but he talks about, you're doing your yoga all the time. And he says, like while driving to work, mailing a letter, meeting a friend for lunch. It also reminds me of one concept he talks about, which the posture never ends. It just shifts, inhale to exhale, part-time job to full-time job, in a relationship or out of one. And he teaches that the transitions themselves are postures in themselves. And that's what you're reminding me of.
that's beautifully said.
I'll
Yes.
take a photo of them and send them to you.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's a great reminder because I can forget. And I love reminders like that. Just, yes, yes, yes. Stay with that.
So tell
Wonderful.
me about, you kind of mentioned like you have a journey with chronic pain. Tell me about that and how has yoga helped you with it?
Okay. I'm going to try to be short because we don't have that much time. There's a lot to say. It's a long journey, but I've had back pain since 2008. That's when it began. That's where I had a disc herniation. That's when it hit me, and there's a lot of pain, and there's sensations in my legs and etc. And basically, every day after that, there's been pain and so many setbacks. And I went to so many doctors and specialists and chiropractors and physiotherapists and osteopaths and specialists and doctors, everything. And I got this program and this program, this program, this opinion and this opinion and this opinion. And I know that in that journey as well, I like to blame people for not finding what's wrong with me, right? So it's in that state where I was blaming as well. And I'll get to it, but at that point, it was only a physical thing for me. It's not that now. In the end, though, I went to this specialist in the capital, like privately. It was hugely expensive, but I felt like I had no choice at that point because my back was basically collapsing. I couldn't do anything, and it was so painful. And I had to quit everything, like all of work, and I was laying up at night and basically ready to call emergency line, because I was afraid. And I was practicing yoga at the time, but that fear was really, really hard to deal with. It was more the fear of, should I do something? Should I call? What should I do? What do I do with this? More the fear of finding out or more the uncertainty, more than the physical pain in itself, which was hardest. And then I finally found this doctor who I had several sessions with, and he said that the discs, like in my lower back, they are, they're bad. Your spine is bad, broken, or or something like that. Didn't sound good, and that just made me feel worse. And we ended up, like, I felt at the time was the only choice to go and have a surgery, not typical surgery, but where you had, or I had a disc replacement, like 2 titanium artificial discs were replaced in my lower back. So they're there now. Amazingly, I can move about as much as before. You think you can't, but as mobile as I was before, but the pain didn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the hugest setback I had, because I had a major surgery and I thought that I would be, okay, totally fixed, but I wasn't. Now what? Now what do I do? And then I, bit by bit, went deeper into my yoga practice again, just to breathe with it, accept the pain. And then I discovered something. There's a huge connection from the brain till the physical. I mean, this is what yoga really is about. It's the mind-body connection, which is deeper than I thought. And then I had realized it at some point, but I realized it even more now, with more effect and power, that I grew up with repressing so much emotion, and I was so hard on myself, and I was not accepting who I was. It was like pounding on myself day after day after day, and I know that has created huge tension in my body, also mentally. It's like it's a process that I can feel this day too. I'm kind of trying to catch it. That's a part of my yoga practice too. I'm catching how I'm treating myself.
Yeah. Wow.
We're going into ahimsa here, which is self-love.
Yeah.
I used to say non-violence, but now I like to twist it to the positive term. I want to say self-love instead of non-violence. Mm-hmm. If I say non-violence, I'm focusing on the violence, kind of.
It's true.
My brain might do that. I'm accepting myself, all my emotions. I'm loving myself in this moment. So fast forward to today. The pain is not totally gone, but my perspective has changed.
How has it changed?
It's like I'm speaking to the sensations like sensations and not pain anymore. It's not an enemy. I'm treating it like sort of like my inner child.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving it a big, massive embrace, and it's okay that you're there, because if I'm pushing it away, it's resistance again, and that brings it closer to me. I'm making it bigger, and just yes, accepting it is how it is, and I'm making it like count less. It's less important.
Yeah. And
I'm so on fire with different things in my everyday life right now, with things that I'm doing. We can get back to that, which is kind of overriding this thing. Yeah, there might be sensations, pain, feelings there, but I'm so inspired by this and this and this and this, that the other thing there is kind of, it's getting less. It's allowed to be there. I'm not pushing it away. I'm just allowing it, and then it gets less power.
Right. Wow. Yeah. You're the second guest that I've had speak about chronic pain, but also the mind-body connection. I don't know if you listened to that episode.
No, I would love to.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting because actually the guest who I had was Adriana Bucci. She's an abuse recovery coach. And she was just talking about how she had chronic pain, and that was how she discovered the mind-body connection. And she's not a yoga teacher. She's not a yogi, but she ended up doing, lots of inner work. And I just think that's so fascinating, because I myself have never experienced chronic pain. I said to her in the episode, but for me, it was my mental health. And that is, the mind-body connection too. And what was going on with my mental health was like really supported by my yoga practice. And so I just think it's so fascinating every time I hear people speaking about their chronic pain and how they've used yoga tools to kind of like work with it.
Yeah. I mean, I love my yoga practice. I'm kind of using it in like physical practices as well. It's not just meditation and sit and be okay with it. Like pigeon pose is a lifesaver for me.
Really? Yeah.
Huge tension release. But I'm being mindful not to use my poses to fix. Mm-hmm. And if I'm using it to fix, that tells me there's a problem. There's not a problem. So I'm using it to help me feel safe in my body, to help create space around what's going on with the sensations. And then my toolbox with all the the exercises, or the poses rather, that I have in my practice, they are vital. They're so important, because I know how it can feel to get into this pose and this pose. What do I need today? Yeah, I'll just get into that pose and that pose, because I have this toolbox. So every day is kind of different. Which pose should I get into today? Like I said, I'm being mindful not to use it as a fix.
Yeah.
Because nothing can do that.
Right. But even like using your, I don't know, like the meditation skills as well, like those are also, I consider those like yoga skills, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that is, even that as well is like a great kind of tool to, what is it? I guess being accepting of like things the way they are. That's something we learn from yoga.
Absolutely. And that is, it's going into ahimsa, and it's self-love, self-acceptance, self-awareness, and all of this. So I like to have two perspectives in my life. It's number one, it's the self-acceptance. It's what is now, accepting everything exactly as it is. It's COVID. It's the it's the sensations in the body. It's something with the family member. It might be something uncomfortable. It is what it is. But I'm not being passive about it. I'm accepting, not in a passive way. I'm just creating space around it, which, when I'm doing this, leaves room for, where do I want to go? I mean, I have things I want to do in this world. I have places to go. I have things I want to do. So I'm bringing my being into doing this, of course, also, but also the perspective of, which direction do I want to go? What am I on fire about? What's my passion? Where do I want to go? So it's just having those two perspectives at once gives me space, and it fuels under something, kind of a direction, I would say. So I find those, great, for me at least.
And you said something there the other that just reminded me, describing ahimsa as like love instead of nonviolence. That was really interesting for me, because that's exactly what we do in education. We always try to phrase things into a positive for kids. So, for example, instead of shouting down the hall, "Don't run," you would say to them, "Walk." Or instead of "don't shout," you would say "whisper," and it just like makes it a more positive environment. And I think that's really interesting, because I've never thought about, ahimsa, for example, all these Sanskrit words, we've translated them into English, and that is our English translation. So it isn't, there's nothing saying that we have to state it as that way every time, like nonviolence, and introducing it as like compassion and love, I think has a different spin on it, doesn't it?
It does. Because when I'm going to violence, I'm thinking, or saying nonviolence, I'm thinking, what am I angry about? It's like I'm pulling something closer, or I might not, but it can actually activate something that I don't want to activate. I want to go into the opposite, like, I want to go into the feeling of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helpful to say love. And then it's easier to go into the feeling of love when I say love rather than nonviolence. Filled with something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk about, so I encounter a lot of men that are nervous to start yoga, saying that it's for women or for girls. Did you ever experience this when you were starting yoga? And like, what advice would you give to a man who is feeling that way?
Oh, Lord. My first experience with yoga was terrible. I was one of three guys in a studio of, I think it was 30 or 40 people, and most of them were women. But I was not in the best place at that point either. So that's, that affects. But it's like, this is a ladies' world. I didn't feel like I fit in. And so I can understand, and you have Instagram, of course, you have all the social media and how you can think it's supposed to be like this, but it's not. And I find that being a male practitioner and also a yoga teacher, I'm taking on a responsibility to bring more men into yoga classes. I'm making more and more an effort to do this. So I'm trying to do my part, but because I can understand it's hard.
Yeah.
It is, but yoga is so much. And how do you really define yoga. I came or thought about a kind of a term that applies to me and hopefully applies to many other people, that it's not just about me. So my yoga practice will affect everyone. It will affect my relationship with my partner, my family, my kids. Yoga is about how I treat myself on the mat and in the the daily life. How am I, like, what is masculinity? I found that I'm more authentic when I'm being a bit slower. I stop, I pause, I move away from all the doing. I was so exhausted from needed to perform. And there's got to be a lot of guys who's exhausted from all the doing and all the performance and all the pressure. Yoga is a place where you can stop and get away from the performance pressure. And I know that after all my yoga practice, or like doing what I'm doing, I'm more authentic. I'm more in touch with myself. My shield is lower, and that makes me a much better person to be with my family, my partner, and my my son. He told me that at some point. I mean, it's it's kind of like a young dude at that time, but he noticed that I had changed.
Wow.
So yoga, and you might not even call it yoga, but it is. Yoga is a way to really let the guard down and be authentic. And I don't know what's more. I'm going to be careful to use the word masculine, but I don't know what's more masculine than that, when you can let your guard down, be raw and authentic. Who doesn't want to be that? It's powerful. It's damn powerful.
I just got shivers. So, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to develop a consistent yoga practice?
Yeah, it's the MLPC. It's a great place. You have the 30-day challenge. I love that you have that. It's huge. I mean, what got me dedicated was my Ashtanga practice, where I practice 6 times a week, which is good. Right now, I don't practice Ashtanga. It's not for me. It's not for everyone. So I'm thinking 30-day challenge is a great way to start. Also, have an inspirational teacher is a good way to start. That's how it was for me.
Yeah.
And dedicate yourself to have rituals. Don't be too hard on yourself. Yoga is not it's not another place where you need to be good at something. It's not. If you have only 5 minutes in the morning or in the afternoon one day, that's plenty. I mean, you dedicate those 5 minutes, or even just those 5 breaths to yourself. That might be plenty. So don't aim too high in the beginning. I mean, aim small steps, and be aware in those small steps. That's a good way to start. And then I have a ritual. I started with a ritual in the morning. Number 1, before I do anything with my phone or anything, I'm making my bed.
I love
I'm
that.
pausing after that because it's huge. I have an accomplishment. I'm making my bed mindfully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's yoga. That's a practice. It's a ritual.
So true.
Yeah, that's the beginning. And then you can develop the toolbox bit by bit after that. Just start small and be patient. All is coming.
That energy will grow in your life, right? Once you start with one little thing, then it will just kind of like pick up like a snowball.
It did for me. So that's from my point of view. So my practice has changed so much, and I'm guessing that will happen to most people.
Yeah.
So just start somewhere.
All right. So the last thing I'm going to ask you is what kind of offerings and like what kind of work do you have now? Well, first of all, you and I are co-hosting a retreat at Yandara that we just planned 30 minutes
Yeah.
ago. So stay tuned.
All right. Yes.
What else? Where else
Um,
can people find you?
so you can check out my website, which is kmyoga.no, which is Norwegian, but you can
Perfect.
Google translate it if you don't know Norwegian. And it's also on Facebook, so it's facebook.com/kmyoga.no. And that's my web pages. And what I'm working on now, Corona, we had lockdown in my country as well. So during that time, I developed a yoga and fitness program online, which is combining the world of yoga with something which might seem opposite, which is fitness slash CrossFit based, but it's more like body weight exercises and everything mindfully. For me, it's all yoga, but I'm kind of trying to lure people from the fitness world into this, and they're doing it, and I'm happy they're doing it because all my teaching is all about being mindful and slow, be aware of what you're doing so you don't hurt yourself, and what can you bring from the mat out into the rest of your day, to the people you are surround yourself with as well. It's not just about you. It's not just about me. So I call that program Stillness in Motion.
Cool. And that's in Norwegian?
Yeah, but I'm going to translate it to English this summer. So
okay, perfect. I think I was on your website and I was trying to find the English translation.
I'll get there. Yeah, I'll get there. It's going to be translated. And what I'm on fire about right now is also I'm going to make a program for chronic back pain.
Oh, amazing. Wow. I can think of some community members actually that would probably benefit from that. Definitely send along the information and I'll share it with our group.
Wonderful. I will. I'm going to make that also in Norwegian and English, of course.
Perfect.
I want it internationally. And that will be, like I spoke about before, it's not just physical. It's everything. It's wholesome. It's a wholesome practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ahimsa in this. How do you treat yourself? What's going on in your inner world? That's most important. So that's that. And I took a course in for like trauma for yoga teachers. So I'm now a trauma-informed yoga teacher, which is awesome. So,
amazing.
Yeah, and it was an amazing program. It's Susie Crenshaw from Manchester who held it, if anyone knows who that is. And I'm going to use that knowledge there. I'm going to go deeper into that. And I already have a deal with the prison in Norway. So I want to go in there and have yoga for inmates, which is important also. You got to have yoga in the school system. We got to have it in the prison system. And there's already a lot of yoga in the prison systems. We got to expand it.
Yeah.
So that's there. And also there will be, I was in Costa Rica this winter, so nice. Me and my girlfriend are looking to host a wellness retreat in Costa Rica sometime. So.
Amazing. Oh, I'm there. That's brilliant.
Wonderful. Yeah. And other than that, I'm hosting like classes, typical yoga classes in the community.
Amazing. Well, in the podcast episode description, I'll put your Instagram and your website and everything, so anyone listening can kind of check you out and follow you along. And hopefully we'll have you back for some classes at the MLBC because I missed you. It's super nice to see you after so long, and I know a lot of our community love to see you again soon.
Thank you so much, Alex. And there's Princess. I miss her too.
How's Bobby?
Oh, he's great. He's doing well.
Good.
He loves to be online too when I'm teaching online. So, but thank you so much for having me, Alice. It was great. I loved it.
Thank you so much, Kenny. And looking forward to kind of following along and seeing what else you get up to this year. And we'll meet in real life soon.
We will. Wonderful. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.